It's time now to take a look at the stories making headlines on Nigerian newspapers. I have joining me in the studio our political technocrat, Dr. Dayo. Kayode, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, good morning, brother. You see, I wonder in this country, each time we are trying to manage ourselves, one or two people will just create unnecessary problem. You got to see the problem people are facing on the road this morning. Heavy traffic, early Monday morning, because of fuel.
We're gonna have to also look at that. You know, that's a grouse that you've actually brought on the show this morning. But let me also introduce the second discussant, political technocrat, public affairs analyst, Dotun Ojon. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Brian, it's good to be here.
Well, let's look at what the papers are saying this morning. We'll look at Leadership newspaper is the first. Russia-Ukraine war, that's the kicker, and the headline reads, anxiety over Nigerian students still trapped at Polish borders. Federal government asked stranded citizens to move to Romanian, Hungarian borders and Kiev to hold talks with Moscow. Nigerian Tribune is next. Federal government confirms 4,000 Nigerians stranded in Ukraine, demands their safe passage. Putin puts nuclear forces on high alert. World isolating Russia, EU countries, US to disconnect Russian banks from international financial system. Next is this day. Ukraine, Putin puts nuclear deterrent forces on high alert. That's got the tongues wagging this morning. And the riders read, US says move dangerous. More countries ban Russian flights. Ukraine gets more support from allies. Punch newspaper has a screaming headline where it says, not screaming actually, but it's concerned about Russia. Russia-Ukraine war, fuel scarcity may persist. All vessels face delay on sea. That's another dimension to it. The Nation newspaper has it 2023. INEC polls timeline creates anxiety in APC PDP. Ruling party leaders jittery. Progressive governors Buhari meet tomorrow. This Nigeria is next. 2023 presidential race that's talking politics. Odds favor South to fly APC PDP tickets. Yahaya Bello, Atiku, other northerners plot strategies. Wiki outcome of PDP primaries will shock many. That's according to Governor Wiki. Daily Trust, still talking politics. 2023 anxiety as Atiku, Tinubu, other aspirants, no fate, June the 3rd. Will comply with timetable. That's APC, PDP, and other political parties. Early start will help the process. That's CDD. Blueprints is next. Still talking politics. APC National Convention. Fresh plots to postpone March 26 date thickens. And the riders read governors to meet Buhari over INEC timetable Tuesday. Sponsors more. I really can't see. There is convention presidential primary in May, and party sets up 20 subcommittees. New Telegraph 2023, don't disagree yourself by joining APC. Sage tells Jonathan, alleges schemers want ex-president to hand over to Buni after one term. And then the recent one, which is the constitutional amendment, reps begin electronic voting on Tuesday. Abuja Inquirer is next. Plans for Jonathan Buni ticket, Sage. Gauge that Goodluck Ebele Jonathan will speak at the right time. That's Osita Chidoka also talking there. Daily Times, Kaigama to Buhari intensify action to resolve ASU strike, fuel crisis. Says government officials must listen to citizens and politicians must listen to people they represent. Business AM is next. Dirty petrol, artificial scarcity to test subsidy removal. Nigerians pay extra naira to buy fuel caused by dirty fuel importation. Marketers, attendants rip off Nigerians to make up for economic hardship. Let's race to the next newspaper. Nigerian News Direct. Fuel scarcity, price hike, worsens transport fare. That's something that is really biting a lot of Nigerians on the streets of Lagos and across the country at large. National economy is next. Gas, Nigeria is the new bride of Europe. We're going to have to discuss this in the course of the conversation. Business Day is next. The world taking note as tech cleanses Nigeria's image. That's talking about the disruption. The technology is also causing some of the developmental strategies and infrastructure in Nigeria. So let's delve into the newspaper headlines and what they are saying by looking in-depthly into the in-depth analysis into them. Leadership newspaper has it this morning. I'll start with you, Dr. Kayode. Russia-Ukraine war. This is something that we've been talking for the past 5 days, even before the invasion of Russia into Ukraine. We have been so concerned about Nigerians who are there, over 4,000 Nigerians there, and some 8,000 Africans who are also studying in Ukraine and also Russia. Talk to us about the fact that some Nigerians are not allowed to enter the Ukraine-Poland border because they prioritize Ukrainians into Poland rather than Nigerians who are also stranded there. Has this been, worrying you so far?
Yes, much as I'm more concerned about the Nigerian students in Ukraine, people should also try as much as possible to understand the genesis of this war, all right? And then the role that the world powers have been playing, especially in the balkanization of the Soviet Union, all right? Meanwhile, Putin is now seeing that even Russia, they're now coming to Russia again to cause destabilization. But I think that is a story for another day. Now, reading more, going further into what is happening in Ukraine border, it is nothing other than the way Nigerians are supposed themselves to be to its citizens by not being responsible to the citizens. Look at what happened to us in South Africa as regards xenophobia. Look at what happened to us in Ghana. When ordinary Ghana, what's their population? Sending us away from where we had our embassy. Now, I also read now that, look, Nigerians, each time Nigerians enter the bus or the train to enter Poland, the officers, military officers will come in, check their documents. The moment they find out that you are a Nigerian especially, they will drop you down. But you are not yet qualified to go. Why? Why are we like this? And honestly speaking, I wouldn't be blaming them. It's because they know the kind of value that we place upon ourselves. Look at another time, just one American was kidnapped in I think Nigerian Republic and then brought to Nigerian territory. The Americans said, look, it is just one man. I want that man within the next 24 hours. And look at what happened. Are the Americans living in Nigeria? No. They deploy their technology because they have value for their citizens. But what value do you have for ourselves here? Terrorism, kidnapping, maiming, killing, even our students. And they be saying, just. You are calling a human being just? So how do you want us to be taken outside? So whatever we are seeing there, I think it is a big eye-opener. The other time, during this xenophobia issue, I also told the government, it is supposed to be a big eye-opener. But do we learn?
Let me take this to Dotun Ojon. Well, he's concerned about the way Nigerian governments, those who are the authorities in the country, really value the lives of their citizens. But is it that's what is playing out in Ukraine-Poland border, or is it a fact that they're looking at the proximity, they're looking at the affinity between the Polish and the Ukrainians? They see themselves as more brothers than any other race from any other country at all.
Now, if you begin from, it's a two-sided event. If you begin from Nigeria, the first question you ask yourself is, what is even the foreign policy focus of Nigeria? You discover that it's about Africa. And that means that if that happens within our borders, there's possibilities that we are expected to actually take care of our brothers before other people. But again, that may not happen in our case, because whenever we see any man with a white skin we suspend our thinking. And even it happens, I remember a story. I was in an organization too. We were on queue to take lunch. And the head of the organization came and took his plate. He wanted to go. And I called him back. I said, no, I cannot be on queue and you just come from nowhere and go take food. And everybody was like, you get that point. So first is the politics, the foreign policy focus of these countries that we're talking about. But secondly, Dr. Kayode mentioned a very, very important aspect of our life, which is the issue of value. And value is not just about what the government does to its citizen. Value is the collective, it's a product of our collective responsibility or irresponsibility. Anytime I'm praying for, or you are praying for a better country in terms of good leadership, when you get to traffic in your Lagos, check the answer there. Check the answer in the behavior of people in traffic. That's the answer. Anytime you see us behaving this way, we continue to have the same kind of leadership. So there's a place of value, really. There's a place of a country, the most populated black country in the world is talking. Everybody must listen. Hey. Incidentally, we have the resource when it comes to human resource. Incidentally, we have the resource when it comes to natural resource. So we are supposed to be a key player. But who are we now in the global politics? Nobody considers the input of the African man, not to talk about the Nigerian person. And we are getting to a point now that it's becoming very glaring that nobody can escape whatever Nigeria becomes. In terms of whether you think, oh, if Nigeria is not working well, I'll pack my bag and go outside of the country. If all of us now, we have got to a point that we have to make it work. Because if I have the capacity to send my children abroad, I do not have the capacity to ensure their security there. And once this thing happens, it is this same Nigeria that you are cursing, that you call. Look at what happened in Libya. Majority of these people just want to get out of this country without, and these are people, ask them their voters card, they do not have. These are people that 5,000 is what will get them to vote. You cannot be running a kind of country and you think everything will be okay. So it's a combination of is very, very important. Our people are stranded there now. Before you go check the social media, everybody will be cursing the government. And ask them, what is your input in the Nigerian state?
Sure.
One input, at least once you are 18, you have the right to vote. Have you ever contributed a quarter to the growth of the nation? When this thing happened, when the Nigerian government banned Twitter, a lot of the groups that I belong to started releasing press release and they were talking. I said, no. I called the leadership. I said, there's not a time to be releasing press statement and say, oh, the government didn't do right. What you were supposed to do before, if you know that you do not like President Muhammadu Buhari administration, you don't like the direction it is going, you have to do something. Vote him out. It's not that you will not participate in the process and you will not be thinking that this thing. So value is what we need to work on, and it's very important.
That's a very an interesting point that Dotun raised, saying that Nigerians, the way you also contribute to the development of your nation, how you also portray your nation to the international world also determines the way you're going to be treated. So, but then the Foreign Affairs Minister, Jeffrey Onyema, said at the meeting with the EU, with Minister of Foreign Affairs on Friday, ambassadors of Poland and Romania promised Nigerians safety in their countries. This is them giving their word to our government, but then doing otherwise. Where is the disconnect?
Exactly, it's still the same thing. Because here, they know the kind of value we place on our people. They know that even our leaders, when they talk, they just talk without following it up. You
won't say they didn't follow it up. No, hold on. You won't say they didn't follow it up. They actually provided numbers, addresses of places of contacts where Nigerians will make calls to and places they are meant to go. So saying they didn't follow it up might not be, let me just put it that way, just unfair on their own side.
Listen, when I say they are not following it up, I know what I'm saying. And I'm still standing on it.
Expatiate.
I read all about the addresses they were giving and all that. But are they putting pressure?
On who?
On the government, on the people they discuss with, on those ambassadors. Are they putting on pressure? Americans, NATO, and their allies, they were saying, oh boy, stop harassing Ukraine. It will be a vacuous statement if they had not put pressure But look at the kind of pressure they are putting up. And even now, the Prime Minister of the USSR, what's his name again? Zelensky, is even now trying to come up with how to resolve this issue. Why? Because a pressure has been given. Now the issue now is, what pressure are we giving on these other countries for them to allow Nigerians to stay there? I just told you the story that happened over the weekend. What is happening to our Nigerians there? All right? They will enter bus, they will enter train, they will say, calm down. Because, number one, you are a Nigerian, calm down. Look at it. When there was the issue of xenophobia in South Africa, we were making noise here. What did we do? Are we been able to get reparation for that? Those Nigerians that were killed, what happened? Their businesses, what happened? Do you understand? So these are issues. When a Nigerian leader speaks, they always come up with vacuous statements without following it up, without action.
Well, that's your reservation as regards this matter. But now let's try to also broaden this, the perspective of these hostilities going on between Russia and Ukraine. Yeah. The last guest that I spoke with said something like, which we know that Putin has actually put his military officials on a high alert and some other ministers on a high alert, saying that if this happens, this is what I'm going to do. Now, this is just like putting the entire world in jeopardy. What would you say to this as they come together to have this conversation, to have these talks on the Ukrainian-Belarus border?
One thing I also want us to understand is that at the end of the day, every hostility is to drive both governments to the table. Yeah. So it's at the back of, it's something that you know that, oh, what exactly am I looking for? Do I want to destroy the world? The answer is no. I just want to sit on the table and get some of these issues resolved. But again, let me talk about our own immediate fears as Nigerians. As we speak now, we are in the season. He complained about fuel scarcity, and the federal government came out to say, oh, within a few period of time, this will be sorted. But that didn't happen. The complication now is that some vessels are also on the high seas. And because of these hostilities going on here and there, they may not be able to come in as quickly as possible. That means that that's also going to be some kind of complication on availability of fuel in Nigeria, which will put further pressure on the Nigerian people. See, if you get to that street now, outside of here, ask 2-3 people about what their major issues are in Nigeria. Before anybody will mention this Ukraine and Russia matter, they will have mentioned 10 immediate concerns that they have, and one of them is fuel scarcity. Unfortunately, it's having an effect on it. These hostilities is having an effect on it. So I think, as a government or as a people, we must learn from now to make use of what we do have as a people, so that when some of this madness happens in the future, it does not have a direct effect on our people. Before this man will even release one atomic bomb now, we are already facing our own atomic bomb. Because in Nigeria, our total refineries have the capacity to refine close to 500,000 barrels per day. But in the last 2 years, I doubt whether we have refined 50,000 barrels. That means that everything we are relying on now is on importation. And hostility is going on now. Some of the vessels will not be able to land. What will happen? It put further pressure on Nigeria.
Well, I can see, if I want to deduce what a very cogent points that you both raised, is talking about Nigerians coming together, being a very single-hold, undivided nation. Look at the president of Ukraine, Vladimir, what's his name? Zelensky, is saying that it came from being a comedian to being a president, a real-world president. And then he put his feet to the ground saying, I'm going to defend my people.
Oh, yeah, and he's trying.
Talk about Usyk, who is also a heavyweight champion, saying that I'm putting my boots to the ground to defend my country. These are all the people of these nations coming together to face Russia, regardless of what is going to come out of it?
He said we don't need evacuation but ammunition.
Ammunition. So how would you, what would you say to this? You know, bringing it down to the country, saying, talking to us about how to become a single undivided, you know, entity.
The thing is, till now, we have not gotten the kind of leader that is required for this country. Let me also take you to Malaysia.
You mean the kind of leader or the kind of system that we need
to
install
when
the right leadership?
When we have the right leadership, it will put in the necessary system. We need a leader to put in the system. The ones there now are not ready to put in the system. So it is when we now have the right leadership that we can have the right system. Look at what happened in Malaysia. Mahmoud, or what was the Baba's name? At 93, he looked at Malaysia, that this is not the Malaysia I left behind. And he came back. And because the Malaysians, they have seen it that yes, they need to move forward as a people. He was voted in as a prime minister. Okay? So here in Nigeria, what are we doing? Do we know our rights, duties, and obligations? I bet you. Ask, don't let me mention the profession. Ask some of them. How many of them had seen Nigerian constitution before? Talk less of understanding right duties and obligations. So go outside there. Nigerians are tired. But unfortunately, they are saying, Nigerian problem is too much. Where do we start from? But they have forgotten that 1,000 miles journey start with the tourist system. My brother, Nigeria will get it right. At the time that we are ready, at the time that we can now come together and say, yes, as a people, enough is enough. We got to have our refineries working so that nobody will be coming and be saying, look, because of the wahala in Ukraine and whatever, some things are being stranded on the high sea. You got to have good leadership that will put the right system in place for us to move on economically, politically, socially, culturally. Do you understand? We also need to put in all our efforts as a people, because when you work alone, you can only work fast. But when we work together, we will walk far.
No, I want us to...
That's the final thoughts, just in a few seconds.
I want us to see the concept of leadership, not to be a position of being a position. All of us agree that we have leadership problem in Nigeria, and it would be insane of us to continue to point our fingers at Aso Rock. There's a general capacity collapse. If you are a bus conductor, you must see yourself as a leader in that regard. There's a failure in our community now, not because Buhari is the president or because Sanwo-Olu is the governor of Lagos, but because all of us, it's like we did a meeting somewhere. I didn't know where we had that meeting, and we just decided to be this kind of people we are. So, my brother, the concept of leadership is that it places responsibility on the shoulders of everyone. Either you are a bus conductor, you're a journalist, you're a teacher, or you're privileged to be the president of the country.
Well, thank you very kindly for your thoughtful submissions this morning on the newspaper headlines. Although there's so many things being talked about in the newspapers this morning, we couldn't look at them, but these are things that are also affecting us that we talked about. Political Technocrat Dr. Kayode, Dayo Kayode, thank you so much for
having me.
And Public Affairs Analyst Dotun Ojon, really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure, always. Yeah.